control the world, which is the Copernican doctrine. In this intro, we are going to just play the video because we need to understand why they use myth to communicate the worldview, and then trying to transfer into some, some kind of science that back up that idea. And here the Pope Francis is going to say that we need to understand that myth has a lot of powers to communicate even things like science. Okay, we're going to play the video. Let me just check the audio. Carlos, you turn. I think you turn down the volume.
No, it's on.
No, it's on. Yeah. Well, but yeah. No, but something wrong with the audio. Yes. JVM, right?
Well, the Bible asserts that God created the beginning of time and space in the universe. While the Bible asserts that God created the universe. What is your personal interpretation of the origin of time? The main point here is that there was a beginning. That is key. The book of Genesis was not the first book written in the Bible. Exodus came first, which describes the entire experience of Israel's liberation. Later they looked back and wondered how things began. I'm going to use a specific word, but please interpret it correctly. It is a mythical language, not in the sense of being superstitious, but rather myth as a form of knowledge. Myth is also a way of understanding. What's interesting about the biblical language is not whether creation started this way, but that there were pauses and development in the creation process. In other words, there is an anachronistic memory that is revisited.
So, first of all, the most important thing is that remember that the Pope Francis is the first time that the Jesuits came into the throne of San Pedro. It's the first time in history that the Jesuit order get the Pope into the Vatican, and that is, at least for those who like the history behind the Vatican, is something relevant, because Jesuits, they are not just a religious order. There were the military order and the scientific order. In fact, we are using, for example, his calendar. The Gregorian calendar was made by Jesuits to, change our cycles and the connection with the rhythms of the nature. There is a lot behind that. And the Jesuits also create the Big Bang theory. I don't know how many of you know that, but Georges Lamaitre was the father, Georges Lamaitre, who presented to the world the Big Bang theory, and then Edwin Hubble take it. And the idea, it's at least my goal is trying to present you this connection between our, worldview and the Jesuit order, at least to you to know who are behind the worldview that we are,
Heliocentric model.
The heliocentric model. Yeah. So I'm going to start defining the word cosmogony and cosmovision, because maybe a lot of you don't understand quite well the difference between it. But this is taken from Wikipedia. I use Wikipedia just a universal source of information, just because they are taking information from other books and other biology, but just in the common sense, and we all understand what it said. Cosmogony is the myth, narrative, or a model which intends to give response to the origin of the universe and the humanity itself. Every time you think in terms of the heliocentric model, you are, maybe you know or not, it doesn't matter, there is this philosophy behind. Anytime that you hear or see a documentary or TV show where they are presenting, spaceships and planets and sphere in space, there is a message behind, and they trying to convince you that that narrative is what happened in the origin of the world and the universe and your connection with the system itself. And here you can see again all these Asian cultures. They were, separated in time, thousands of years between them. Maybe some of them was in Europe, other in America. They never meet each other, but something was there, in the ether that they canalized and received the message. And every time they drew how the world was or is, they all depict the same picture. This is the Egyptian, for example, which is maybe, here you can see the stars and the dawn, which is, let me just look at this moment. Here you can see, this is the stars in the shape of the dome. This was the Hindu cosmology, the Incas, the Hebrew, the Greek, but everyone depict the same picture. The Sumerians, for example, here, they all, put the sun and the moon at the same size, inside the dome, moving on top of us. And the only generation that we think that we live in this picture, which is a CGI, this is not a real picture, this is not a real photograph. We don't have any real photograph of the planet Earth from outside, from space, that is all made on computer.
Can I say that he's director of visual effects? Er ist Direktor für spezielle Effekte und kennt sich sehr gut aus in CGI-Produktionen. Also er erkennt sofort, dass das ein künstliches Bild ist.
They are all images created in computer graphics, and in the old time it was just pictures on tiny models. But we are the first generation that they trying to change our worldview with this picture here. All the rest of the civilizations in the world, they all think the same thing in terms of where we live. In fact, maybe you believe that the Greeks in the old time, they already know that the Earth is a sphere, but when you go to history, this was the worldview of the Greeks, for example. They believe that we are living in the flat plane, surrounded by a sphere of stars, but not the actual Earth as a sphere. I just mentioned this because, at least in the Spanish community, we learned from school that the Greeks already know that the Earth was a sphere, and Eratosthenes and a lot of other guys from...
But the children here, they learn the same thing.
Yeah. So, the other thing that is important is to understand the cosmovision, because there is a tiny difference between cosmogony and cosmovision. Cosmovision is a general image, a figure of the existence, the reality, or the world that a person, society, or culture forms at a given time. So, for every time that we are living, there are going to be different conceptions in terms of the art of the worldview. Now we are living in the modern day, so we are not going to do the same type of pictures of our worldview, because we are living in a completely different time. We have technology, we have a lot of things that surround that change the way that we interpret it. And in fact, what I'm trying to present today is going to be the worldview in terms of the electric and magnetic cosmology. There's not going to be just a simple drawing in this way. It's going to be a little more complex because we are connected with that forces, which is the dual force in nature. Everything is electric and magnetic, and then with only those two forces you can recreate all we see in nature. And in the old times, for example, you can see here, this is another way of interpreting the nature via myth. You have Helios, for example, always representing the sun on top of horses, or here is the same equivalent from Greeks, which was Apollo. Or you can see, a lot of Prometheus, and you can see Jesus even in our days. They all depict the myth of the sun in different way, but after all, they are talking about the sun. In fact, NASA, for example, in Apollo 8, they use the same logic. They present like nobody's going to believe NASA went to the moon with horses. Of course, this is just an interpretation. It's a way of communicate with Earth. For us, NASA never went to the moon. Of course, it's something that if you take a look in our days, it's just for laugh, you know. But this is not the topic of today. For example, if the Selene was the interpretation of the moon, this is the way that the ancient culture represents the moon, the woman, the feminine energy, the sun represents the masculine energy. You can see even in the I think the Egyptian culture was the biggest in terms of maybe use symbol to interpret the organs in our body. They have a lot of interpretation for the skulls, the reproductive organ of the woman, the penis in the men with the ovaries, and you have a lot of things that help us to understand that this culture has a really advanced knowledge of how our body works with nature and the cosmos. This is another interpretation of the aurora borealis, for example. You can see anytime you see a woman with a man in red, this represents the sun, and the woman in green represents the aurora borealis. And that has an important meaning, because when we see the aurora borealis, this is the interaction between the electrical charge that the sun gives to the atmosphere. That is how the aurora borealis is created. So it's very, at least for me, it's something that is crazy to think that in the ancient world they have the same interpretation, but in this art way. When you have the man representing the sun, surrounded by the woman in the green dress representing the aurora borealis. And for example, here is for a chemical book, and here you have the complete cosmos in one picture. We can see the black sun, or the primordial energy, which is in the center of our world, where is the Polaris star. Then you have the moon representing with the white dress. Then you have the white sun, the regular sun, which is representing with the yellow. Okay, with the yellow color behind the woman. And then you have the aurora borealis representing with the green wings. Of course, if you don't have the knowledge, you just see a woman dressing in white, with green wings, and nothing more than that. But this is just a way to remember that the most important thing behind the myth are the power of encrypting knowledge, because this type of knowledge is not for everyone, especially in the Middle Age, when maybe you want to gain power and use it for yourself. So you need to create a way to, if someone take your book, at least you're going to try to ensure that that person doesn't understand what it is in that book. It's a way to encrypt when everything that it is in this type of art, and especially in alchemy, it's a way to encrypt the information. Of course, the problem that we have today is that all the educational system is based in only one institution, which is UNESCO. In fact, UNESCO is saying that they care about the education and science and culture. And they, after the Second World War, they established these institutions that with only one, like the OMS, the UN, the UNESCO, they take care about, they download information to the whole complete world. Only one institution, and you cannot escape You can escape as individual, but not as society. You need to follow the rules, and that is, in this sense, it's important to recognize that we all been brainwashed by the same educational system. And when you are young, and we're gonna see immediately in the next slides, it's in that particular moment that we receive the information about who we are, where we are, and what are our origins. We are receiving that information at the age at only 3, 4, 5 years old. We don't even know at that age how many or how much it represents 10 centimeters. And one of the first workshops that a child receives today is to create with little spheres of plastic the solar system. Maybe, that was not my case. I have 43 years old. When I was young, in the school, we wait until 12 years old to make that workshop. But in our days, I see a lot of, I have a lot of friends that has childs, and that is one of the first workshop they are doing for the school. And not only, something at least which is a little curious is that the logo of the UN is the same type of projection of a flat Earth. Okay, we're gonna see that map in a little bit, but you're gonna understand. But it's at least something curious because a lot of people doesn't even understand which is or what represent this logo of the UN. So I'm gonna play this video at least to. I like to take a little part of movies because in a lot of movies there are hidden information that they are put in the front of everyone, and maybe you understand, maybe not. But there is some movie that has very good script that can help us to understand the world we are living. This is from a movie of a teacher that trying to make the youngs think differently, and I'm going to play it a little bit. And that is a key, because we are under a complete 24-hour saturation of information. This is just a part of a video that I made a long time ago with a music in the background of Pink Floyd that I think everyone knows when I play it. But here is what happened in our days to all childs in terms of the cosmovision that they receive. Forget about the toys, the soldiers and the
dinosaurs.
Dinosaur, things like that, astronauts. That is the toys in our days. Yeah. So I'm gonna play because this is, what I'm trying to connect with the idea of what we are receiving from the young age. Okay. This is what happened in real life in our days to our childs. They are all the time, NASA, space, astronaut, sphere. This is the, ultimate goal for a child. It doesn't matter the age. You can have 1 year old, 2 years old. You're gonna enter into school and you're gonna teach the evolution theory, and you're gonna tell you that you came from a monkey and you don't have any special gift in sense of the spiritual knowledge. You're gonna be teaching with the heliocentric model, and everything, everything. This object there, this is not only a plastic ball representing our world. This has a lot of information encrypted because we are all the time receiving that information from our young age. Of course, then when you leave the school, you're gonna home, arrive to your home, you turn on the television, and the propaganda continues all the time. You're gonna find thousands, in our day especially, thousands and thousands of TV shows, movies about space and about aliens,
Star Wars,
Star Trek, and so on and so forth. Continually you're going to receive this propaganda. And of course, to conclude this part,
1984 last year.
That world we live in terms of the worldview. Because right now, you are thinking that we are revolving around the sun, that we are moving 1,000 kilometers per hour.
1,600?
1,600 in the equator. But at the same time, if I ask you, you are moving right now, what are you gonna say? No. But you have two opposite thoughts at the same time working together because you are teaching to accept that in your life all the time. You know, you are asymptomatic, or how you say?
Asymptomatisch.
Asymptomatic.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine. No. You are sick, but you don't know yet. And you can find examples all the time. That is one of the main key of the educational system. It's to live inside, like with, this idea of two thoughts that are opposed each other, but you accept it. And in terms of our worldview, it's it's very, very heavy. How much you need to negate your sense. When you analyze nature, you can see that we live in the flat plane with the flat horizon, where I see the moon, and I see at 9 o'clock the moon is here, and 9:10 is here. The moon's move, of course. And why you know it? Because I see with the sense of the view. Okay, perfect. Now let's make the same question to the sun. 12 o'clock the sun is here, 12:10 the sun is here. The sun's move or the earth move? What are you going to respond? The sun move, but the educational system tell you, no. Your sense are cheating you. It's the earth who moves around this. So, let me continue with this.
In lies, to deliberately believe in lies while knowing they're false.
That is very important. You have your own belief systems, or you believe in the system that already was created by institutions.
Established
by other institutions. In the worldview, we don't have our own beliefs. In the worldview, we believe in NASA, in the European Space Agency, in the Copernican doctrine, because we never address that topic. It's something that we're going to teach you in the school, and you're never going to address again, and you're never going to question again if what you are, who you are, why you are here, etc., etc., etc.
Question of existence.
To preserve our own minds.
So anytime that, at least in my opinion, anytime that we came in this type of conference and you read a book and you watch a video of Stefan Lanka on YouTube, or a lot of people that are trying to bring new information, you are creating antibodies in terms of your mind, because we are all the time under attack in the sense of we are under a war on information. We are living every day on psychological operations all the day. It's inevitable.
Mind control.
Mind control, exactly. So if you don't choose to change your path and start taking new information and put, of course, the new information you need also to put a proof, right? You need to question even the new information. But if you don't do that, you start losing, new skills to defend yourself from the system. So, getting back on the track, we are going to see a little interview where this journalist is going to talk with Guy Consolmagno. Guy Consolmagno is the actual director of the Vatican observatory, where all these theories came from, even the climate change. Maybe you think there is something that the scientists, take, but that was the Laudato Si. That came from the Pontifice Vatican University. which was created in the 1600s, and the first director of that university was Galileo Galilei, which never was condemned by the church. That is a myth, and we're gonna see in a moment. But anytime they try to address, at the Vatican needs to address the big question, which is the Big Bang, because they created that idea. So let's take a look of this interview.
Book of Genesis versus the Big Bang Theory.
Right.
Here's a perfect example of how the two are so opposed, there could never be any point in the middle where they could meet. How can you be a man of both?
I'll start out by reminding you that the Big Bang Theory was devised by a Catholic priest, Georges Lemaitre, and it was opposed by a lot of astronomers in his day because they thought it was too close to the idea of creation. But now that we know more about how the universe is created, it's even more important and more true than the poor guy who wrote Genesis could ever have believed.
And do you believe, written in a poetic way deliberately in order to make it timeless?
It had to be written in a poetic way because the science keeps changing. God couldn't say, and then I had a Big Bang, because 100 years ago people would have said, what are you talking about? And 1,000 years from now, the Big Bang is going to look, kind of naive, I hope. It has to be spoken in poetry.
A lot of things you can take from this tiny part. The first one is that they consider that the Genesis was written by a poor guy at that time. And he talks about that because maybe you know or not, but the book of Genesis in the Bible was taken from the Babylonians. That was taken from the exodus of the Jew people when they get free from Babylonians, and they take the worldview of the Babylons and put it into the Genesis. Of course, the worldview of the Babylon was the same as the other ancient cultures. We live in on the flat plain under dome sky. And the other thing is that he leaves clear is that there is no other way to explain our origins besides poetry. It's like saying, using myth, because we cannot explain it in the scientific way. But in our days, we believe that when they show you this and they say, yeah, no, we know how we was created and how everything starts. It's a Big Bang. Take a look. These are just drawings. There are just pictures, drawing without any scientific proof at all. This is just some idea. We are going to see where it comes from. But, they make us believe that, no, this is so technical, and, you have a lot of lines and math behind, and, colors and things like that. This must be something scientific, of course. They know what happened 5 seconds after the Big Bang, because they tell you that we don't know how everything starts. We can see with telescope back in time until 5 seconds after the big explosion. And people believe that. They believe that you can see with a telescope floating in space and know what happened at the beginning of time. So this was the guy who invented, because it's not was discovery. The Big Bang is not something that you discover, you cannot see it. They invented the idea of the Big Bang because we are living in modern days. They need to give correspondent to our time a cosmology. They cannot keep using the same old worldview. They need to update the worldview. And in our days, because we are living under a materialistic society and modern and technology society, they start changing and make new pictures about the origin of our existence. But when you go and start studying and ask yourself, make the question and make the quest and ask yourself, well, where these priests take the idea of the Big Bang? Because maybe you can believe that, well, he was a mathematician and an astronomer, and so maybe he took it from, science. But the truth is that he take the idea of the pre-level atom, the primordial atom where everything starts, which is representing, you know, that super tiny little point full of energy where all the, you know, all the materials of the universe was condensed and then explode. But that idea, he took it from a book of Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah, and that's true, it's called Eureka. And if you read Eureka, Edgar Allan Poe, he himself talks about that. I'm gonna make a tiny, how you say, ensayo?
A rehearsal.
I'm gonna write a little article about the ancient cultures when the ancient culture, they believe that we live in a cosmic egg. That is the idea, and you can, you know, track that in the Latin American cultures and other in Europe. They believe that we live inside cosmic egg. And Edgar Allan Poe published this tiny article in 1848, and this priest took that idea and transferred into mathematics and present to the world the Big Bang theory. Simple as that. It was poetry. He was using a myth and just changing into our modern days, and he used math to, you know, make it more believable. In fact, here you can see Pope Francis and the Jesuits of the Vatican observatory updating the Genesis. That is why the Pope Francis is looking at the galaxy, and this is the new Genesis for the humanity. And you can see it in this representation. This is a cathedral in Australia, and this is a stained glass window, where you can see down here the classical representation of the Garden of Eden, where supposedly the Genesis talk about it. And here you can see the new Genesis, including the heliocentric model itself. You can see from, at the beginning everything was dark and void, and then God says, make light, and here you can see in these consecutive window glasses. But they are updating the old one with the new one, Genesis. That is why in our days we receive this type of images as something real. And when you ask yourself who are behind it, here you have the complete pictures. This model was presented in their majorities from the Jesuit order. Everything started with Nicolas Copernicus, and then you can see from the logos which were the next that continued this information: Kepler, Galileo, Maximilian Hale, Christopher Schneider, Athanasius Kirchner. I know there is a lot of people that maybe you all even heard about it, and that's okay because they are not teaching school.
Yeah, from the Jesuits order?
From the Jesuit order, yeah.
Jesuit order.
And in fact, like I mentioned before, Galileo Galilei was founded by the Prince Cesi from England and financed by the Medici family, which belonged to the black nobility. So this idea that Galileo was condemned in the, for the church because his discoveries and blah 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 blah, that is completely a myth. In fact, we can read an article from Spanish newspaper talking that the Jesuit did not accuse Galileo but a cardinal, according to the study, and that was the real story behind it. Just one cardinal accused Galileo Galilei, but not for his scientific findings, but instead for his hermetic bias, his hermetic way of thinking. Of course, at the same time they had Giordano Bruno in the same ideas, and Giordano Bruno ending, he
was burned?
Yes, he was burned alive, but Galileo has another type of friends in the Vatican, and he keep alive the rest of his life. And something at least to take into consideration, let me just play it.
It is following Copernicus' publications, it is probable the Jesuit order has produced more astronomers than any other demographic in Europe. That, ostensibly, a religious order should produce so many scientists should cause surprise. However, as these scientists have focused nearly exclusively in but one area, this gives us reason to question.
And that's true. The majority of the astronomers was created and produced by the Vatican. Even in our days, of course, we can think, well, but we have universities that produce astronomers. But yeah, but every of those astronomers study what this order give to the educational system. We are all believing in their cosmology, in their worldview, which is the Copernican doctrine, which is not something that is backed up by science. In fact, Cosmo de' Medici, which was one of the first pope of the Medici family, who found or helped to Galileo, he was obsessed trying to understand the Esmeralda tablet, the hermetic principles. How many of you know the hermetic principles? If you can raise your hand. You know, the 7 laws of the universe. Well, this guy was behind that. He was obsessed. It's something strange, because if you are a pope from the Vatican and you believe in the Bible story, why you are trying to understand a knowledge came from the Egyptians? Something must be there that you need at least to use in your own purpose to establish a new religion. And he talked with Marsilio Ficino, which was the guy who translate the information from the Egyptian to Latin for the Pope. And Marcello Ficino is a very, very enigmatic character of the history. He exists for real. But this is the connection between, what I'm trying to say, for me it's a little difficult because I'm trying to explain in English, but I'm trying to make a connection here from the worldview with the ancient world, and nothing changed. In fact, we are trying to get back to this type of information, because the information that we receive today is complete garbage. It's something that break the connection with the law of the universe, and they trying to link us to their own laws in all the sense. In the political way, in the economical way, in the scientific way, and more important, into the religion way.
Health.
I like your tiny participation. You make so mysterious, Okay.
Medicine.
Yeah.
Education.
Yeah. So this is the 7 principles of the hermetic knowledge, and we're going trying to transfer in this new worldview that I want to present you. But for finishing this modern part, how many of you know this guy, the famous philosopher of the elite?
Yuval Harari.
Exactly. Everyone know him?
Yuval Harari.
What opinion do you have?
Crazy.
Okay. Dangerous. That is a nice word. Okay. He's very dangerous. I assume that you already heard it saying that we are just animals, hackable animals, and we don't have soul or spirit. He said that in his lectures. He said, forget about that the human being has this special soul or spirit. We just are animals, hackable animals by algorithms. Well, this danger man, he wrote books for your childs. and you ask yourself, I mean, this is not the topic that this guy must be right. I mean, if that has any sense. Well, the problem is that they are just tools of the systems. So you can imagine Klaus Schwab talking with him and saying, hey, you give information for the adult people, saying that they are not special, they don't have any spirit or soul, they are just an animal, hackable animal. But we need to reinforce from the young age, because if not, maybe if you don't, put the doctrine when you are young, they are going to grow with a different worldview, and we cannot allow that, because then it's most difficult to bring it back to our worldview. So let's start, writing for the young boys, and this is the book that he wrote. You can find it with the Lanka books in the back of the. No?
He has this book there? No.
I love you. So the idea here is that look the pictures that he used. The most important picture, what is the spherical Earth. We are living in this tiny speck of dust. We are nothing in compare with the universe. We are just another rock floating, going nowhere. That is the most important icon in the book, in the cover of the book. Then you have men on the moon, of course, because we are United States and we went to the moon, of course. And then you have a shaman in the left side of the cover, and you have the title, Unstoppable Us, and how humans took over the world. This is what you're gonna see now is just a little clips for 2 interviews that he went to television presenting the book. And what he says is very, very interesting, because what he's going to talk is for real. And behind these words are the real power that they trying to erase from us with the Copernican doctrine. I'm gonna play.
Social engineering.
A little more mysterious?
Social.
Okay.
Why is it important for you to write a book for younger readers? The main mission is really to change how people view the world.
In the first sentence, because they cannot change the world. The world is what it is. For us, it's flat, it's stationary, it's magnificent. Nature is great. We are under this, ceiling of planets, stars, the sun, the moon. Everything is connected. They cannot change that, but they can change how you see the world.
They can change our imagination.
What Michael Jackson said about "Hear the world,
Hear the world, make it better.
Okay, so all the things they are doing is for change our world view into their world view. So let me get back.
Help them understand the world, who really help them understand who they are. This is the biggest question maybe in the life of every kid. What am I? And the world is so complicated and sometimes frightening.
The central argument is that we've got a superpower that's allowed us to rule the planet. What is that, as human beings, what is that superpower?
Well, the superpower is our ability to invent and believe fictional stories, fairy tales, science fiction. As long as everybody believes it works. This is why we rule the world, because we can invent these kind of strange stories. So it's a very important genre. It's very easy to make people afraid. Never convince 1 million chimpanzees to come together to build a cathedral, or to fight a war, or to build a spaceship to the moon, by convincing them in some story, some mythology. But this is the way that we cooperate. And again, it's not just religious mythologies.
And that's true. We are creators. We can create from nothing, from the imagination, using the visualization. And the most important thing is that everybody believes it. If everybody believes it, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. We experienced that with the pandemic. there is no virus, but as long as you believe it, you're gonna get sick, because you are created in your own mind and you are transferred from your mind to your body. We are, semi-God in that sense, and they know that. So everything they're trying to do is to, every time they tell you you are just another animal, what they are telling you is that you are not longer a creator, and we are going to create for you. That is why it's so important, our belief system, because you believe it, you create it. Not just the good things, but also the bad things, and we can explain that with the new Germanic medicine. We can explain the bad part of being creator, right? So, but they are telling you in your face, we have that superpower. So, he's going to tell another things about the astronomy that for me is a little important. Not just astronomy, but the science itself. Not a scientist, because we are everybody is a scientist. Everybody that questions the nature is a scientist. Then maybe you are a doctor in engineering, or you are whatever. That is a title that the university gives to you. But what is the real goal of science in terms of the institutions of the science?
The chief value of science is power. Truth was never the highest priority of human society. They use truth to some extent on the way, and science is mainly about gaining power over the world. People often speak about astronomy and, Copernicus and Galileo and all these planets. I mean, the sun is in the center, the earth is in the center. Who cares? How can you make money from that? How can you conquer territories from that? But this was really a side issue. The big thing was geography. And this was like the first big project, successful project of modern science was mapping the world. And it was obvious to everybody that it's not being done out of sheer curiosity. It's being done in order to control and to conquer.
I'd like to be an explorer, like the Great Magellan.
Oh, you're too late. There's really nothing left to explore.
The chief...
How many of you see Truman Show movie? Okay, the ones who didn't, take a look tonight because it's a nice movie. That is the final part. And this is what happens if you believe that you live into a sphere. It's already, oh, you are too late. We mapped the world. There is nothing new to discover. Of course, you cannot go to Antarctica and to the North Pole because, we have the treaty of the Antarctic Treaty, and you can only reach civilians to 60 parallel. but beside that, everything was already discovered. They trap you into this mindset of everything was discovered. Don't worry, we provide to you.
You take away your curiosity.
In your childhood. It's the most important thing. And the rest is something that I think everybody understands. Science, in terms of the institution, is to gain power over the world. And when they say over the world, they are saying over the people of the world. Because over the world it doesn't have any body to control, of course. So this is the main goal. The main goal was to map the world and create the first geography project. And of course, how many of you know this type of map projection? It's the standard Mercator projection that you receive in the school. It's the cylindrical, unwrapping, like a cylinder projection. And this was taken from a book of history, but it's really interesting what he said. It's in Spanish, but I'm going to translate it here. He said, the map lies. The traditional geography steal the territory, as the imperial economy steal the wealth, the official story steal the memory, and the false culture steal the word. And I added, and the Copernican doctrine steal the spirit of the human being. Because everything that they made has a purpose in terms of taking away that power of you. And How many of you know this type of map projection? They are all flat earther, I believe. Okay. Why they don't teach us this map, which is the logo of the UN? This is the logo of the UN. And this map is 400 years more modern than the Mercator. This projection was created in 1492. And this map, it's registered in 1867 in England, in Denmark, in Germany, etc., etc. It's the Gleason map. It's the new standard map of the world, as it is. And it is scientific and practically correct. You can use this map to, go from the point E to the point B, and you're going to reach your target. This is a sun map. Here you can put the sun moving around. We're going to see in a minute. But they hiding this type of information. This is official map. They're using the UN logo, and they are hiding from the, from the public, if you want to. This is the official patent here, belong to Gleason. And this is a really cool tool for teaching. You understand immediately where you are living. If you just take a look, here we have South America, United States, Africa, China, here is Europe, Australia, and of course, Antarctica. It's surrounding the whole complete perimeter. This is the big wall, the big, ice wall, like they say. If you want to just simply go around the world, you just go. Oh, remember that the compass only aims to the north. If you go to the south with the compass, it's not working. You can see in videos on YouTube, you can take your own your own boat to the Antarctica, but in the Antarctica, the compass doesn't work. If you get too close to north, the compass is going to turn crazy and it's going to spin completely crazy. And to go around the world, always is from west to east or east to west. In our days, we don't have an actual flight that goes to the north and make to the south and came to the same starting point. We don't have that. We send spaceships to Mars, we have, people going to the moon, but with only that flight, they can prove that the world is a sphere, and we don't have. 2024, and we are still waiting. As we are still waiting, get back to the moon, right? After 60 million years. Maybe the next dinosaur is going to go to the moon. So this is how you, use this type of map to go around the world. And for finish, this is something that maybe happened when you hear about, for the first time, about the flat earth and all these type of things that, was sad that Sirok cannot make his presentation. But this is from the same movie. This is from the Truman Show. It's the ending of the movie when he was an adult and he started questioning where he lived, because he was walking one day, he was walking and a star coming from the sky. It has a lot of messages from question your worldview. And it's very, very curious because he took a boat and trying to go into Antarctica. Not Antarctica in the sense of the movie, but Antarctica in the sense of the real life. And what happens when he, after passing the storm, he reached the end of the world, if you want to say. And this is what happens when you start getting into this topic. You're gonna get, contemplative at the first time. You're gonna get angry. You're gonna get angry with yourself because you start looking and thinking, why they lie, where I am. You're gonna feel a release maybe when you enter into this topic. Of course, if you don't address this topic, you don't understand very, very...
You cannot crave water.
No, that's for sure. But this is a really nice movie to take a look after entering into the questioning of the spherical Earth, because this is what happened with to a lot of people. You contemplate the nature in another way, you get angry with the system, with yourself, you want to fight with yourself in the first place, and then you have the representation from the moon of the system. And any time that you are trying to get away from the system, you're gonna turn on the TV and you're gonna see an astronaut in the news. NASA, beat his record of 600 hours making a spacewalk. Who cares? It's a guy floating with cables, doing nothing outside a spaceship, changing a screw. What is the meaning for humanity to do that? No, well, we are, looking for your safety in space, that you never go, but it doesn't matter, a meteorite, an asteroid can reach our planet and destroy everything. Everything here in the movie, you can see the symbology behind that, which is anytime you're trying to go to the exit of the system, you're going to have the system trying to bring you back at any cost. And you open the door, you need to pass through, and then you have the system saying, hey, Truman, no, get back. And Truman's just in the cross shape, he sacrificed himself and get away from the system, if you want to see it that way. Yeah, it's like a matrix. And who knows Dali? The artist. Dali, okay. He had a little, he assists at the Rothschild party. How many of you know the Rothschild party of the mask?
He created the mask.
He created the mask, yeah. He was a really, really mystic guy he has a lot of things to learn from him. But there was an interview made in Mexico, and what he's going to say to the journalist is going to ask him, what is the most important thing that Dali, has? It was developed itself. It's in the, like a painter or sculptures or, and the response of Dali, it's amazing because he's going to respond in a way that maybe nobody expected. I think this is translated.
Eine weitere, etwas klügere Frage und
it's translated in German with EI, okay? Maybe, I hope it's well done, but let's take a look.
Eine weitere, etwas klügere Frage und wir sind fertig.
¿Qué es más, en qué se realiza mejor su genio?
Mach dich bereit, lieber Freund, denn das ist die letzte Frage, die ich beantworten werde. Also, mein Genie liegt weder in der Malerei, noch im Kupferstich, Aquarell, Schmuckdesign oder der Lithografie, sondern in der Kosmogonie. Lern es. Kosmogonie, das System des Kosmos, die Konzeption des Universums. Mit anderen Worten, Dali hat eine völlig eigene Vorstellung vom Kosmos. Und vor allem, wie gerade erwähnt, hat Dali seine ganz eigene Kosmogonie. Und mein Genie liegt in meiner eigenen Kosmogonie.
So how many of you has their own cosmology? We are trying to, at least put in question the cosmogony given us from the system. And in this case, believe it or not, is the Copernican doctrine. Camouflage as science with the heliocentric model or the Big Bang theory. That is the cosmogony and the cosmology that the system gives to you. And believe it or not, that cosmology is to destroy you. This came from Sigmund Freud. If you search the Hill's the wound of the psyche, Sigmund Freud is going to tell you that the most important wound of the psyche, how can you damage the psyche of a human being, is through the Copernican doctrine. That's the first one that he put in the top 3, because we are not more in the center of the creation, and we are not more creators. We are just a speck of dust floating in the universe without any purpose. We don't know where we're going, where we came from.
With no meaning.
No meaning. And he put that as the top one, the doctrine, the Copernican doctrine. The second one is the theory of Charles Darwin. Of course, you are just another hackable animal, said by Noah Schwarzenegger. But it's just that you are not just an animal. You don't have soul. Of course, the animal has soul and spirit, but for the system, animals, you can eat it because it's just a piece of meat without any consciousness and nothing like that. And then he put himself in the third wound of the psyche, because he discovered the subconsciousness and you cannot control it, and it's like sleeping with the enemy inside of you, and you need to go to Freudian type of therapy to kill yourself. I don't know how to say. Sigmund Freud, yeah. And of course, we are entering now in the fourth wound of the psyche, which is the artificial intelligence. Because all these philosophies were telling you it's that you are an imbecile. You are slow, you cannot do math as a machine. The machine is going to make things better than you, more faster than you, and you are just right now, there is so many people that we can just start killing. And the population based on these things, because you are nothing, you are not special. So we can do with you whatever we want, because for us as a system, you are just a number. You are not a divine being experience in this, adventure, trying to discover who you are, etc., etc., etc. Even for me, which was a real genius, which is Carl Jung, and how many of you know Carl Jung? I think a lot of you. I assume he was a Swiss guy, exactly. And he was a student of Sigmund Freud, in fact. And then he opposed to Sigmund Freud because he discovered what? The same type of things that the Pope Francis said in the beginning of the conference. There is like an echo of, that always came back in terms of the myth of the creation. And Sigmund Freud, he really focused in the archetypes and the myth and how to interpret the dreams and how to access to the astral world. That is the important behind them. And what he discovered with his patients is that it doesn't matter how much you try as a system, you cannot, well, let me just play directly for his mouth, and he's going to say better than me.
Man doesn't stand forever. It is nullification. Once there will be a reaction, and I see it setting in. When I think of my patients, they all seek their own existence, and to assure their existence against that complete atomization into nothingness or into meaninglessness. Man cannot stand a meaningless life.
And that is what is behind the heliocentric model. The atomization, the annihilation of you as experience. Believe it or not, that is the philosophy behind the Copernican doctrine. And you cannot do it. I mean, you maybe can translate it better than me, but every time you push a human being to the wall against his own spiritual discovery, something is going to, react, trying to make the good questions that lead us in the good quest trying to find who we are and what are our goals in this experience. Very fast, how you are in terms of you can hold 20 minutes more of presentation. You are tired.
It's half past.
Yeah.
So actually, if you want, you can go to the closing, and then maybe if someone has a question, then.
Okay. Yeah. Very quickly, because the first part was my goal in the first time was trying to brainwash again. You know, in the sense of trying to take out the cosmology and the cosmogony of that the system provides us from the young child until our days as adult people. That was the first part. Maybe it was a little confused. My English is not the best, but that was the idea behind the first part of the presentation. The second part is more enter into connection, the real connection between us and the cosmos in the poetry and with poetry and myth, because the ancient culture not only they represent the world view, but they also represent the human as a temple in connection with the cosmos. And this is what we are. We are a battery. In terms of biology, we are electric and magnetic. We have the electric in the mind, the magnetic in the heart, and we have this nervous system that conduces electricity, and everything is electric and magnetic. We are in the duality type of world, not in the bad sense. Of course, there is good, there is bad, there is red and blue and blah, blah, but we are the main forces of the nature, from the primordial force, which is the black sun, if you want to think that way. Immediately when they split, it's magnetic and electric, and that is applied to every living being on this world. And you can see that, of course, when you, for example, if you take the idea of the natural law.
Natural law.
Yeah, in the English world, when you go to, when you are to how you say, to a court, they put on you charge, because you are a battery. They put a charge and they put into a cell, because you are a battery. So they charge you. You need to pay this, pay that, right? It's a charge. And then they put into a jail, which is a cell, to give your energy to the system. That is mythology, if you want to see it that way. But this is how we operate. So we are not only a temple. Here you can see, up here, this is our temple. And a lot of buildings from the ancient world into the modern world, they are built as a human body rests on the floor. That is one of the best architectural you can use for being in connection with the cosmos. We are living into the Solomon Temple. Of course, we are here a lot of, especially nowadays with the war with Israel and Palestinian, because they want to build a third temple of Solomon and blah blah blah. They exoterize.
Exoterized.
Yeah, they exoterize something that is a myth into actual bricks and trying to build that. But we are living inside of Sol and Moon temple, because we are under a symbology dome with the Sol and the Moon, with the sound and the vibration. That's the part you have. Sun, the Om, represent that we are living in the world of vibration and frequency, and then the Moon, and that is the Solomon Temple, at least in the Gnostic way of seeing that. And if you want to try to depict an image, trying to update this old image here representing the world view, the most, for me at least, nice to see our world is something like that. This is like an update of those ancient cosmology. We are the flat plane, like a type of Gleason map, with the luminaries at the same size. Of course, the moon and the sun has the same size. They are revolving around us, not just revolving, but they are also making like a toroidal movement. And of course, this world is also battery, because we are living under electromagnetic world, and we are connected through the ether with that type of energy. So this is like a modern depiction of this cosmology that I'm trying to give today. And of course, the idea behind all this presentation, I don't have much time, is not just to memorize, but also comprehend, and more important, integrate and implement. Not just, of course, this conference, but all the conference. And this is a practice in your daily basis on your life. You know, you first memorize, and then trying to comprehend, and you make the connection when you integrate and practice. The practice is the key behind any profession or anything that you want to do in your life and get better. If you want to represent into scale our system, it's very easy. If you have a magnetic field in the middle, that is why the compass only points to the middle, and you have a flat surface with flat water, always is level water, you can create atmospheric pressure. We have atmospheric pressure. We are in the closed system. If the rockets for real go outside the world, and every time they, launch a rocket, break the atmosphere, we are done in their own system. Because supposedly the space is infinite at zero pressure, and we have this tiny speck of dust that we are, and rockets going, breaking the thermodynamics laws. If you put a pressure system under a negative pressure system, it's going to be destroyed immediately, like we see in this video. In the ancient world, it's something, the Vedics, for example, they represent in the same way of see the world like this. When you see a Shi Chantra, which is this representation here, this is just a 2D representation of a toroidal field. This is the world in the middle, surrounded by a disk, and all these lines here, if you put in 3D, it's a toroidal field like you see here. So they already know that we are living in this electromagnetic kingdom. This is the representation in 3D. And when you take this, which is just a simple plastic representation, and you want to observe this in real nature, this is a real magnetic field. What you are looking here is like a plate with LED lights and a magnet in the middle, and you can see through that light the actual magnetic field. This is not a CGI thing or something creating plastic. This is an actual magnetic field, and you can see the black hole in the middle, where is Polaris, where the compass starts getting crazy. And that black hole, if you want to see it that way, is what it produces the complete energy of the system of a magnet. And then here you can see the flower of the flower of life. This is in 3D, of course, but this is, where we live in terms of electromagnetic conception. This is an actual electromagnetic field. In small scale, of course, we are having in big scale in our world. That is the representation of controlling, the bull. The bull represents the Taurus, the Thor, the god with the hammer trying to break the dome. Well, that is never happened, but that is the symbology when you reach and take this type of knowledge, trying to get outside in terms of the astral energy. If you want to create, for example, galaxies, just with a magnet, make a magnet spin, you can have the same shape of the spiral formations. This is a small scale, of course, but when you start transferring this type of small experiment, then you have this. Outside of our world, everything moves under electromagnetic behavior. The moon, the sun, that doesn't, remember that in space, nothing changed over the centuries. The sun, the moon have the same movement. We can create the same calendars based on that luminaries. The planet had the same orbit. They never slow down, they never speed up. It's like there is no waste of energy. And the only way to produce that is with this type of energy. Of course, in nature, you're going to have the Fibonacci sequence all over the place, not just in food, but from the small scale to the big scale. And this is, again, a magnetic field. Looking from top, you can see the flower of life. It's a symbol that the ancient cultures used quite a lot. And even our heart, I don't know if you follow or know about the helicoidal heart, which is Dr. Manuel Ballesteros, a Spanish doctor, that he studied the heart, and the heart is not separated muscles. It's just one muscle that if you take it and start opening, this is the way that he unwrapped the heart. But the heart is a double toroidal field. So when you start looking, you understand why we call humans, for example. Why we call humans? Because we are the men of colors. We have the hue wheel, like a colors. I don't know if it is a designer, for example. Here, I am a designer, and every time that I need to pick a color, I go to the hue wheel and pick the red or the green or the blue or the violet. Well, that is where it comes from, the word human, because our goal in this experience is that we came from the astral, from the stars. The start is when everything starts, and in that in that kingdom we have wings. We are angels with wings, and we decided to came here to experience life itself. So when you come here, you lose your wings and you enter into the kundalini serpent.
Or material experience?
Yes, and you incarnate, and you become matter. And the goal of your experience is to erase again to the top, using understanding your chakras, understanding your biology, understanding yourself, not looking outside but also looking inside, and trying to make again the material, the matter of our body sacred again, and try to rise up and get, gain the wings again in the moment of time when you disincarnate and need to go again into the heaven.
Source.
Yeah. The last 1 minute 30 video that is going to, because it left a few things that I want to show. It's very sad that not having much time. But let me just play two things. The first one, we are creator, but how we create? We not just create with the visualization. Yeah, that is the first thing. No matter, here is no matter, here is no coordinate system, there is nothing, it's just electricity. That it produces an image. That image doesn't have any coordinate system. If I open your brain, there is no images inside there, but we experience that. So, how you take from your head and you manifest? Of course, we manifest with sound, with frequency and vibration. And you can have all this in ancient culture, in the Bible, in the Vedic world, in the Maya, whatever. You're always going to find that we are creators, and this is the tool, because that is the same tool that our world used to create. So, let me just play this little video here.
The film you're about to see has no characters, it has no people. It is a film to describe to you and explain visually the effect of cymatic frequencies on texture, structure, water, oil. If you spare a little of your imagination as you watch this film as it runs, you will see many things that answer many questions. You will see living forms, living amoeba, almost animal-like creatures. You will see continents being formed, the earth itself coming into existence. You can see all this and watch it before your eyes. Everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. We are told that this is how the world began and how creation took shape. If we put that into the modern idiom and say that into the great voids of space came a sound and matter took shape. Please watch carefully.
Dr. Peter Guy Manners laid the foundation. Now we delve even deeper. The question is, are you ready to uncover the truths that have been meticulously concealed for centuries? Frequency and vibration, concepts long studied, with their sheer power archived in thousands of classified documents. The CIA, amongst other agencies, has detailed the immense capabilities of these forces.
So, for finish, when you speak, it's not a wave. If you imagine the sound, supposedly we look the wave form of the sound, but it's not a wave. That is just a 2D representation. The actual sound is a 3D toroidal field. Here you can see, for example, this is like a gift in, as a gift, like you can go and say, print this word, I love you. So you can give this to your wife, and they put this into a card, and then they print it into plastic in 3D, and there is a bunch of cylinders. But in fact, our system of, how everything is set up in our body is to produce, every vocal has a distinguished pattern from a toroidal field. We are speaking with toroidal fields. That is the amazing thing. I mean, we are living under a toroidal field, and we are created at the same image of the creator, and we have the same properties. I'm going to play this very quickly to you understand what I'm trying to say.
You can see how we can manifest things. We become creators and can manifest anything with sound.
This will leave you speechless.
Hello, this is Michael Tellinger.
Is about to show you how the hidden rhythms of frequency shape our world. This is real, powerful, and it's all around us. So sit tight and let's dive in.
What the toroidal fields look like, or that are created by the sounds we make when we speak. And phenomenal research and work has been done to show us what the different toroidal shapes and fields look like of different letters and different sounds, especially vowels. And then as we speak, these toroidal fields that we manufacture and we create with our mouths, infinite forms, infinite shapes, infinite creativity that we manifest, actually become scalar waves and scalar technology that go into all of creation and permeate all of creation instantly. It doesn't take light years for the thoughts we have or the words we speak to permeate all of creation. It happens instantaneously.
A toroidal field is a captivating energy pattern that assumes the shape of a torus, reminiscent of a donut or a vortex. It serves as a gateway, connecting multiple dimensions and providing a conduit for the flow of energy and information. Vowels, characterized by an open vocal tract and unobstructed airflow, serve as vehicles for the uninhabited expression of sound, revealing a mesmerizing symphony of energy that permeates our spoken words. The power of vowels lies in their ability to evoke unique toroidal fields, each with its own intricate pattern and energetic signature. Every vowel sound manifests its own unique toroidal pattern, contributing to the rich symphony of energy that infuses our language. The vowel I generates a toroidal field that radiates with focused intensity, representing clarity and self-expression. The O sound produces a toroidal field that exhibits a circular, oscillating motion, symbolizing completeness and harmony. The U sound engenders a toroidal field with a constricting motion, reflecting the energy of consolidation and concentration.
So, for finish, because I don't have much time, and I really appreciate every one of you that stays so long in this presentation. But the meaning of the presentation is that, first of all, like I mentioned before, the idea to create our own cosmology and worldview because if not, you are just using the system worldview, and I think that is destructive to our connection with the cosmos. And the second thing is that we have this, like Yuval Harari said, we have a special power. We are creators, and that special powers belong to the fact that we can create science fictions, which is real for us. So be careful what you think, what you say, and trying to use the words to, help others and help yourself. So thank you so much for the
Thank you very much, Iru, for doing also the effort to speak in English. Thank you. So, a little surprise we have for the speakers today. Please, Arlette and Harald and Stefan. Aliana, it's good. Yes, yeah, okay, good.
Gracias, chicos. Corto.
Tschüss. Aliana's